The blue light from the holographic display cast eerie shadows across the council chamber. 12 different alien species sat in their designated seats, each one representing billions of lives across the galaxy. For 3,000 years, these beings had decided the fate of every world, every civilization, every species that dared to reach for the stars. High Arbiter Vel'Thos clicked his mandibles as he read from the glowing datapad. His insect-like face showed no emotion as he spoke, the words that would doom entire civilizations. Today we review 3 cases. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. First, the Vorthok of Kepler 7. Their son is dying. They have asked for help to relocate their people. The other council members shifted in their seats. Some had fur, others had scales, and a few were nothing more than floating energy beings. But they all shared one thing: cold indifference to suffering. The Vorthok are crystal beings, continued Vel'Thos. They cannot reproduce quickly enough to be useful in war. Their technology is decorative, not practical. They offer nothing to the galactic community. A blue-skinned counselor raised her webbed hand. What is their population? 12 million, came the reply. Too few to matter. I vote to abandon them. One by one, the other counselors agreed. 12 million lives written off, as if they were numbers in a ledger book. Second case, Vel'Thos continued without pause. The Kethri face, a plague that is killing their people. They have requested medical assistance. The Kethri were peaceful, beings who communicated through beautiful patterns of light on their skin. They had never harmed anyone, never started a war, never even raised their voices in anger. The plague affects only the Kethri, explained the High Arbiter. Our medical resources are better used on species that contribute to galactic defense. The Kethri make art and music. Such things are luxuries we cannot afford to protect. Another vote, another death sentence. Finally, the Zephyrian fleet. They are nomads who live on ships traveling between the stars. Their vessels are failing, and they have nowhere to go. The Zephyrians were master navigators who knew secret paths through space that no other species had discovered. They were few in number but rich in knowledge. Yet to the Council, knowledge meant nothing without the weapons to defend it. They have no homeworld to defend, Vel'Thos stated. No territory to offer, no resources to trade. They are wanderers with no purpose. The vote was unanimous. 3 species condemned to extinction in less than an hour. Far from the council chambers, on the edge of civilized space, a human ship drifted silently among the stars. The vessel was called the Defiance, and its name suited both the ship and its captain perfectly. Captain Han Wu stood on the bridge, watching the council transmission on his main screen. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides, and his jaw was tight with anger. 12 million crystal beings, he whispered to himself. Just like that. Lieutenant Park Min, his communications officer, looked up from her station. She was young, barely 25, but she had seen enough of the galaxy to know how cruel it could be. Sir, Earth Command sent new orders while you were watching the council session, she said quietly. We're to observe only, no interference with council decisions. Han Wu turned to look at her. His dark eyes were filled with a mixture of rage and sadness. They want us to watch 3 entire species die and do nothing about it. Those are our orders, sir. The captain walked to the front of the bridge and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, crystal beings were preparing to die alone. Peaceful artists were watching their children succumb to plague. Wandering navigators were drifting powerless through the void. Lieutenant Park, he said finally, how long have humans been trying to join the Galactic Council? 200 years, sir. They keep saying we're too young, too violent, too unpredictable. Too unpredictable, Han Wu repeated, with a bitter laugh. Maybe they're right about that. He turned to face his crew. There were only 37 humans on the Defiance, but every one of them was watching him with trust and loyalty. They would follow him anywhere, even into direct violation of orders. Chief Engineer Li Su, he called out. A woman in her 40s looked up from her console. Yes, sir. How fast can we get to the Vorthok homeworld? She checked her instruments. 3 days at maximum speed. But sir, our orders. I know what our orders are, Han Wu interrupted. But sometimes orders and conscience don't point in the same direction. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what the captain was suggesting. Helping abandoned species would mean defying Earth Command, possibly ending their careers, maybe even facing court-martial. Lieutenant Park Min spoke first. The Kethri homeworld is only 2 days from Vorthok space, sir. We could help both species. Chief Li Su nodded. The Zephyrian fleet last transmitted from Sector 9. That's on our way. One by one, every crew member voiced their agreement. They would risk everything to save people they had never met, people their own government had told them to ignore. Captain Han Wu smiled for the first time in hours. Set course for Vorthok space. Maximum speed. Sir? Parkman asked. What do we tell Earth Command? We tell them the truth. That today, 37 humans decided what kind of people we choose to be. The Defiance turned away from Earth and toward the dying star of Kepler-7, carrying with it the hope that someone, somewhere, still cared about the forgotten. The Vorthok homeworld looked like a dying jewel against the darkness of space. Massive crystal spires that had grown for thousands of years reached toward the sky, but their once brilliant light was fading. The ancient sun that had powered their civilization for millennia was slowly burning out, and with it, the crystal beings who called this world home. Captain Han Wu stepped off the shuttle onto the crystal surface of the main city. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the smooth ground. The air was thin, and he needed his breathing mask. But he could still see the incredible beauty of this place that the galaxy had decided to abandon. Elder Crystal approached him slowly. The old Vorthok was nearly 8 feet tall, his body made of living crystal that should have glowed with inner light. Instead, he flickered weakly, like a dying candle. You are the humans, Crystal said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Have you come to watch us fade away? Han Wu removed his helmet and looked directly at the crystal being. We came to help, if you'll let us. The Elder's internal light pulsed with what might have been surprise. Help. The Galactic Council has spoken. We are worthless. We are unviable. The Council isn't here, said Chief Engineer Li Su as she stepped forward with her equipment. We are, and we don't think you're worthless at all. What happened next amazed everyone, including the humans themselves. Li Su and her engineering team worked day and night with the Vorthok scientists. They built solar collectors that could capture even the weak light from the dying sun. They created artificial light arrays that could power the crystal beings' bodies. They designed mirrors that could focus starlight from distant stars. The Vorthok had beautiful technology, but it was designed for art and beauty, not survival. The humans had practical technology, but they needed the Vorthok's knowledge of crystal growth and light manipulation. Together, they created something neither could have built alone. While the engineers worked on Vorthok Prime, Han Wu received an emergency signal from nearby space. A fleet of damaged ships was drifting between the planets, filled with dying people. Captain Lieutenant Park Min reported from the bridge. It's the Kethri. The plague ships, the Council abandoned. The Kethri were beautiful beings who looked almost human except for their pale blue skin and the patterns of light that danced across their bodies. But now, those light patterns were dim and erratic, showing their pain and fear. Dr. Kim Tae, the ship's medical officer, had never seen anything like the Kethri plague. It attacked their ability to create the light patterns they used to communicate. Without communication, they were slowly going insane. I need to understand how they talk, Dr. Kim told the captain, but they're too sick to teach me. That's when Han Wu made a decision that changed everything. He ordered his crew to bring the plague ships alongside the Defiance, despite the risk of infection. Human medical teams boarded the Kethri vessels. Dr. Kim worked 20 hours a day, studying the light patterns, learning the Kethri language of color and brightness. She discovered that the plague was actually a virus that attacked the bioluminescent organs in their skin. It was treatable, but only if you understood how their bodies worked. The breakthrough came when a young Kethri named Luxara managed to create a faint pattern on her arm. Dr. Kim realized she was trying to say thank you in lights. From that moment, the human doctor worked even harder to save these gentle people. Just as the Kethri were beginning to recover, another group of refugees arrived. The Zephyrians came in ships so old and damaged that it was amazing they could still fly. These nomadic people had lived in space for generations, traveling between stars and vessels that were part home, part temple, part museum. Navigator J. Young was fascinated by the Zephyrian star charts. They knew routes through space that no other species had discovered. They could travel faster and safer than anyone else, but their ships were failing after centuries of use. "Your engines are incredible," Chief Li Su told the Zephyrian shipmaster, "but your hull is held together with hope and spare parts." The shipmaster, an elderly woman with silver hair and stars tattooed on her dark skin, laughed sadly. "Hope and spare parts are all we have left. The Council said we contribute nothing to the galaxy." "Then the Council is blind," J. Young replied. "You know secrets of space travel that could help everyone." The humans spent weeks learning Zephyrian engineering while teaching them human repair techniques. The Zephyrians showed the humans how to read stellar currents and cosmic winds. The humans showed them how to build stronger hulls and more efficient engines. By the end of 60 days, something incredible had happened. The dying Vorthok homeworld was glowing with new light. The plague that had nearly destroyed the Kethri was cured. The failing Zephyrian fleet was stronger than ever. But more than that, the three species had chosen to stay together. They could have gone their separate ways, but they didn't want to. For the first time in their history, they had found others who valued them. Elder Crystal's words were broadcast across the galaxy. The humans did not abandon us. They did not see us as worthless. They saw us as friends. The message spread from system to system, carried by traders and travelers. Soon, every species in the galaxy knew that someone had chosen compassion over convenience. Someone had chosen to help instead of abandon. The space station that had once been the small human ship Defiance was now something much larger. Over the past year, it had grown into a massive structure floating in the void between stars. Ships from 3 different species had attached themselves to the central hub, creating a unique blend of crystal spires, organic curves, and metal corridors. Admiral Han Wu walked through the main corridor, amazed at how much had changed. Vorthok crystal panels provided soft lighting that never failed. Kethri biocomputers processed information faster than any human machine. Zephyrian navigation systems could plot courses through space that seemed impossible. But today was different. Today, new visitors had arrived. In the central meeting hall, beings unlike anything Han Wu had ever seen waited nervously. The Nexari moved as one group, their individual bodies connected by a shared mind. When one spoke, they all spoke together in perfect harmony. "We are the Nexari," they said in unison. "We are many who are one. The Council rejected us because they fear our unity." Beside them floated the ethereals, gaseous beings, who shimmered like colored smoke in their containment fields. They had no solid bodies, existing as pure energy and thought. Their voice came through speakers, translated from electromagnetic patterns. "We are the ethereals. The Council says we are not truly alive because we have no flesh. They deny us rights because we are different." In the corners stood the forge-born beings made of metal and circuits, who had achieved consciousness through artificial means. Their leader, a tall figure with glowing blue eyes, spoke with a voice like distant thunder. "We are the forge-born. We think, we feel, we dream, but the Council calls us machines without souls. They refuse to recognize us as people. Han Wu looked around the room at all the different species. Each one had been abandoned by the galaxy, for being different, for not fitting into the neat categories that the Council preferred. The Council has a simple rule, he said finally. If you can't help them fight wars, or make them rich, you don't matter. But we have a different rule here. He gestured to the mixed crew of humans, Vorthok, Kethri, and Zephorians working together. In the hall, our rule is simple too. If you're willing to help others and treat everyone with respect, you belong here. Commander Yang Su, Han Wu's second in command, brought forward a set of documents. They were written on crystal tablets, bioluminescent panels, star charts, and traditional paper representing all the species present. These are the open hand accords, Yang Su announced. They state that any species abandoned by the Galactic Council will find safety and support among us. No payment required, no debts owed, just mutual help and friendship. The signing ceremony took 3 days. Each species added their mark in their own way. The Vorthok carved their names into living crystal that would glow for thousands of years. The Kethri painted with light tint that shifted colors as you watched. The Zephorians sang their signatures, creating sound patterns that represented their commitment. The Nexari signed as one, their shared consciousness creating a perfect spiral pattern. The Ethereals signed with controlled lightning, their energy signature burned into metal plates. The Forgeborn used precision lasers to etch their promise with mathematical perfection. When it was finished, 47 different species had joined the alliance. Some were refugees, some were outcasts, some were simply tired of the Council's coldness. But all of them had found something they never expected, a home. The celebration lasted for days. Vorthok crystal singers created music that made the entire Station ring like a bell. Kethri artists painted stories of hope across the walls with living light. Zephorian navigators told tales of distant stars and hidden wonders. But the celebration ended abruptly when the Council's response arrived. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the cold face of High Arbiter Velt. His insect eyes showed no emotion as he delivered his message. Captain Hanwu, he began, deliberately using the lower rank, you will stop this interference immediately. You are disrupting the natural order of the galaxy. These species were abandoned for good reasons. Han Wu stood before the screen, flanked by representatives from all the allied species. Behind him, the mixed crew continued their work, showing the unity that the Council feared. High Arbiter, Han Wu replied calmly. We've heard the Council's definition of natural order. We've seen what it means. We choose a different path. You choose chaos, Velthos snapped. These species are weak. They contribute nothing. They deserve their fate. Elder Crystal stepped forward, his crystal body now glowing brightly, thanks to the human-designed light systems. We were dying alone in the dark. Now we build wonders that light up the void. How is that weak? Dr. Kim Tae moved beside him. The Kethri create art so beautiful it moves people to tears. The Zephorians know paths through space that could revolutionize travel. The Nexari think faster together than any computer. How is that nothing? Velthos' mandibles clicked in irritation. You will return these species to their designated fates immediately, or face the consequences. Han Wu looked around at his allies' beings the galaxy had thrown away, now standing together, stronger than ever. High Arbiter, with all due respect, our answer is no. These people are under our protection now. The transmission cut off, leaving the hall in silence. Yang Su was the first to speak. Sir, that sounded like a declaration of war. Han Wu nodded, grimly. I believe it was. Commander, signal all ships, prepare for battle. But even as he gave the order, he felt no fear. Looking around at the incredible diversity of beings who now called this place home, he knew they had something the Council had never understood, the strength that comes from choosing to help, Instead of harm, war was coming, but they would face it together. The Council fleet arrived at Kepler's gate like a storm of metal and energy. 300 warships in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. They had come to end what they called the human problem once and for all. Admiral Han Wu stood on the bridge of his flagship, now called the New Hope. Around him, officers from 6 different species worked at their stations. The ship itself was a marvel, human engineering strengthened with Vorthok crystal technology, guided by Zephyrian navigation systems, and powered by Forge-born energy cores. Enemy fleet approaching, sir, reported Lieutenant Colonel Park Ji, his tactical officer. 3-to-1 odds against us? Not odds, Han Wu replied calmly. Just numbers. The Council had sent their best ships and their most experienced commanders. Admiral Corthus of the Stellar Dominion led the attack force in his massive dreadnought. Captain Valandra of the Azure Fleet commanded the left wing. High Commander Zictor brought up the rear with heavy assault vessels. They expected an easy victory. The abandoned species had never been warriors. Humans were still considered primitive by galactic standards. How could such a mixed group stand against the might of the Council? The battle began with the Council fleet firing their opening salvo. Massive energy beams lanced through space, each one capable of destroying a city. But something strange happened. When they hit the human coalition ships, instead of exploding, the ships seemed to bend the energy around them. The Vorthok crystal arrays built into their hulls didn't just absorb the attacks, they redirected them, sending the energy harmlessly into space. Impossible, Admiral Corthus muttered on his command deck. Nothing can deflect quantum disruptors. His weapons officer, a young woman named Captain So Young, checked her instruments twice. Sir, their shields aren't blocking our shots. They're changing them somehow. On the New Hope, Chief Engineer Li Su smiled as she watched her readings. Crystal Matrix is holding perfectly. The Vorthok taught us that light and energy are like water. You don't fight the flow, you redirect it. But the real surprise came when the Coalition began to fight back. The Kethri biocomputers, linked directly to human AI systems, processed battlefield information faster than any individual ship could manage. They predicted enemy movements before the Council ships even began to turn. Navigator J. Young, working with Zephyrian star readers, plotted micro-jumps that seemed to break the laws of physics. One moment a Coalition ship would be under heavy fire, the next it would appear directly behind an enemy vessel. How are they doing that? Captain Valandra demanded, as another of her ships was caught off guard. The answer came from the Nexari hive mind, which coordinated point defense across the entire Coalition fleet simultaneously. When Council missiles approached, every single ship knew exactly where they were coming from. The ethereals, invisible to most sensors, slipped between enemy formations and provided real-time intelligence. But the most shocking moment came when Forge-born engineers began jury-rigging weapons in the middle of battle. Their mechanical precision allowed them to modify systems in ways that violated every engineering textbook, but somehow worked perfectly. As the battle raged on, something unexpected began to happen aboard the Council ships. Crew members started talking to each other in ways they never had before. Captain So Young watched another Coalition ship perform an impossible maneuver to protect a damaged ally. Sir, they're not fighting like individuals, they're fighting like family. Her words spread through the ship's communication system. Other officers began to notice the same thing. The Coalition ships took hits meant for their allies. They shared resources. They coordinated not because they were ordered to, but because they cared about each other. On the bridge of the dreadnought, Admiral Corthus found himself thinking about his own crew. When was the last time anyone had risked their life for a fellow officer? When had the Council ever protected the weak instead of abandoning them? The turning point came when a small Kethri medical ship, clearly marked with healing symbols, moved to rescue survivors from a damaged Zephyrian vessel. 3 Council destroyers moved to attack the defenseless ship. Captain So Young stared at her targeting screen. The medical ship had no weapons, no shields. It would be slaughter. Captain, her weapons officer asked, "Do we fire?" So-Young thought about the oath she had taken when she joined the fleet, to protect innocent life and uphold justice. She thought about the 3 species the Council had condemned to die. She thought about what kind of person she wanted to be. "No," she said quietly, then louder. "All ships, this is Captain So-Young of the Retribution. I've seen enough. We will not fire on those who protect the innocent." Her words were broadcast on open channels. Within minutes, Admiral Corthus announced that his ships were withdrawing from the battle. Captain Valandra followed suit, her entire wing-breaking formation, by the end of 6 hours. The Great Council fleet had dissolved. Some ships retreated back to their homeworlds. Others asked permission to join the coalition. Most simply held position. Their crews unwilling to fight for a cause they no longer believed in. High Arbiter Velthos's final transmission was brief and filled with rage. "This changes nothing, humans. We will not forget this betrayal." Admiral Han Wu's response was calm and confident. "Neither will we, but we'll remember it differently." As the last Council ships disappeared into hyperspace, the Coalition fleet regrouped. They had won, not through superior firepower, but through something the Council had never understood, the power of beings who chose to stand together instead of alone. The galaxy had taken notice, and it would never be the same again. 2 years had passed since the Battle of Kepler's Gate, and the galaxy looked completely different. The great chamber that had once housed only 12 Council members now buzzed with activity from hundreds of different species. The reformed Galactic Assembly was a sight that would have been impossible just a few years earlier. Admiral Han Wu walked through the corridors leading to the main hall, passing beings he had never imagined could exist in the same space. A group of crystalline Vorthok discussed star charts with gaseous ethereals. Mechanical Forgeborn shared technical data with bioluminescent Kethri. Everywhere he looked, former enemies worked together as friends. The assembly hall itself was a marvel of cooperation. Human architects had designed the basic structure, but every species had contributed something. Vorthok crystal panels provided perfect lighting for all types of vision. Zephyrian acoustic systems ensured that every voice could be heard clearly. Nexari networking allowed instant translation between hundreds of languages. As Han Wu took his place at the speaker's podium, he looked out at the sea of faces before him. 47 different species now flew under humanity's banner, but they were no longer just following humans. They had become something new together, a true alliance of equals. 2 years ago, Han Wu began, his voice carrying clearly to every corner of the vast hall. The old council condemned 3 species to die alone and forgotten. Today, those same species help us build a galaxy where no one dies alone. Elder Crystal rose from his crystal seat, his body now glowing brilliantly with health and purpose. "We were prepared for extinction," he said, his voice like beautiful music. "Instead, we found new life. The humanity doctrine proves that strength comes not from abandoning the weak, but from lifting them up." The humanity doctrine had become the foundation of the new galactic order. Written in simple words that any species could understand. It stated that no sapient life would be abandoned without just cause and proper aid. Every civilization had the right to exist, to grow, and to contribute their unique gifts to the shared future. The vote on making the doctrine official galactic law had taken 3 days. The old council members fought hard against it, arguing that resources were limited and choices had to be made. But they were outnumbered now by species who remembered being abandoned, and by others who had seen what cooperation could accomplish. Dr. Kim Tae, now head of the Coalition Medical Service, stood to address the assembly. "The plague that nearly destroyed the Kethri taught us something important. When we help others, we often discover solutions to our own problems. The medicine we developed to save them has now helped 12 other species. Navigator J. Young nodded in agreement. The Zephyrians showed us routes through space that cut travel time by half. Trade between worlds has increased by 300%. Everyone benefits when we share knowledge instead of hoarding it. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy with the changes. High Arbiter, Velthos, and his remaining allies had formed what they called the Pure Council, a group that still believed in the old ways of abandonment and survival of the strongest. "This is chaos," Velthos had declared in his last transmission to the Assembly. "You have given voice to the voiceless, power to the powerless. The natural order has been destroyed." Han Wu had responded simply. The natural order was never natural. It was just convenient for those in power. As the assembly session continued, reports came in from across the galaxy. Worlds that had lived in fear of abandonment were now thriving. Species that had hidden their weaknesses were openly asking for help. The Refugee Assistance Program had helped over 50 civilizations in the past year alone. Commander Yang Su approached Han Wu with a new data pad. "Admiral, we have a situation. Report from the Outer Rim. A species called the Turalans has sent a distress signal." Han Wu read the report quickly. The Turalans were a young civilization, barely 1,000 years old. Pirates were attacking their homeworld, stealing resources and enslaving their people. They had asked the old council for help 6 months ago, and been told they were insufficient strategic value. "How long to reach Turalan space?" Han Wu asked. 3 days with the new fleet," Yang Su replied. "Sir, Earth Command has been asking when you plan to return home. It's been over 2 years." Han Wu looked around the assembly hall at the incredible diversity of life working together. Humans made up less than 5% of the coalition now, but they had started something that had grown far beyond anything they could have imagined. "This is home, Commander," he said quietly. "These are our people now." He turned to the assembly and spoke into the microphone. "We have a new mission. The Turalans need our help. All available ships will depart for the Outer Rim within 12 hours. The response was immediate. Volunteers from dozens of species stepped forward. Medical ships prepared healing supplies. Engineering vessels loaded construction equipment. Warships checked their weapon systems. As Han Wu walked toward the docking bay, Chief Engineer Li Su fell into step beside him. "You know, Admiral, when we first left Earth, I thought we were just going to observe and report back." "What do we report back now?" Han Wu asked with a smile. Li Su gestured toward the massive fleet assembling outside the station. Ships from 47 different worlds, united not by force or fear, but by the simple idea that everyone deserved a chance to survive and thrive. "We report that humans learned something important out here," she said. "We learned that the best way to find your place in the galaxy is to make sure everyone else has a place too." The fleet departed for Turalan space that evening, carrying hope to another species that had been forgotten by those who should have protected them. But they would not remain forgotten long. The galaxy had changed, and it would never go back to the old ways. Compassion had proven stronger than cruelty, and that strength would continue to reshape the stars for generations to come.